That leads us neatly into our business segment with our business editor, Kate Moody. Hi there, Kate. Energy prices have been soaring across Europe and gas prices hit another record high today.
Yeah, underscoring just how much pressure the market is under at the moment. At the start of the year, a megawatt hour of natural gas on the futures market was worth around 17 euros. Today, that spiked to an all-time high of 120 euros. It's up nearly 400% since January. Now, this is for the Dutch TTF hub. It's a European benchmark for natural gas, and the contract for gas to be delivered in November. Among the factors at play here, reduced domestic production, restrictions on natural gas from Russia, and stronger demand for energy, both in Europe and in Asia, where economies are trying to shift away from coal. While high energy prices were at the top of the agenda of a meeting at the EU finance ministers this week, the European Commission is looking into complaints that Russia is fanning those price surges, abusing its position as the top supplier of natural gas. Member states appear unable to agree on a joint strategy to protect consumers, with governments offering piecemeal measures like energy checks, price caps, and tax breaks. Now, you can see here a joint statement from the finance ministers of France, Spain, Greece, Romania, and the Czech Republic. They outlined a few suggestions, including better coordination of national responses and gas purchases across the bloc, reforming the wholesale electricity market, working towards energy independence, reducing reliance on exporters like Russia, and continuing with the EU's emissions trading system, which encourages companies to shift to low-carbon activities. These ministers say that needs a predictable and higher carbon price. Facebook and its services are back after yesterday's outage, but the social media group is being slammed today by a former employee. Whistleblower Frances Haugen is in front of lawmakers on Capitol Hill, urging them to increase regulation of social media platforms. Maria Sofas has more.
In a rare show of bipartisan consensus from the US Congress, lawmakers have agreed that significant changes are needed at Facebook after another round of allegations of wrongdoing were recently leveled at the tech giant by whistleblower Frances Haugen.
But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
Haugen's arguments are backed up by tens of thousands of pages of leaked internal Facebook research. The congressional panel is examining the tech company's knowledge of information from its own researchers that suggested Instagram posed a potential threat to the well-being of young people, particularly girls, while it publicly downplayed the risks of social media use. The leaked research shows that the photo-sharing app generated peer pressure that has caused mental health issues, including body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and suicidal thoughts. Haugen also says that Facebook prematurely deactivated safeguards designed to prevent misinformation and incitement to violence after the election of Joe Biden, which she alleges contributed to the storming of the US Capitol. A major concern are Facebook algorithms that favor showing hateful content on its platforms, which nonetheless keep users coming back. Facebook maintains that Haugen's allegations are misleading.
What evidence there is simply does not support the idea that Facebook, or social media more generally, is the primary cause of polarization.
As public outrage over the leaks grew last week, Facebook put on hold its plans for a children's version of Instagram. Some 3.51 billion people worldwide use at least one of the company's products, and it has a market value of nearly $1 trillion.
Facebook shares plunged around 5% yesterday, weighed down by that multi-hour outage of its platforms. They are showing signs of recovering today, up around 2% despite that damning testimony. Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. The International Monetary Fund will trim its next forecast for global growth this year because of the ongoing pandemic. Risks include debt, inflation, and the unequal recovery of emerging and developing economies. The EU removed Anguilla, Dominica, and the Seychelles from its tax haven blacklist. The list of uncooperative states is now limited to just 9, and critics say it's an ineffective way of tackling tax evasion. And France has threatened to review bilateral cooperation agreements with the UK in the latest escalation over post-Brexit fishing rights. The government is furious over the British decision to issue only a small number of permits to European fishing boats. The EU has accused London of breaking the terms of its Brexit deal. There have been protests and strikes across France today. Public sector workers are angry about changes to the unemployment system, which would essentially reduce the amount of money but increase the period of time over which that support can be claimed. Unions have called on the government to scrap the reforms as well as pending changes to the pension system. Protesters are also angry about the rising cost of living and, in particular, those soaring energy prices. The demonstrations could set the scene for some of the major policy issues in next year's presidential election. The union, which represents behind-the-scene crews in film and TV production in Hollywood, says more than 98% of its members have voted in favor of a strike. It's part of a contract dispute with production studios over more reasonable working conditions. If it goes ahead, it would be the first strike in the union's 128-year history.
Bustling film and television sets like these are at risk of shutting down. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees represents camera operators, set builders, makeup artists and other behind-the-scenes specialists. More than 50,000 of its members have voted for a strike, calling for reasonable rest periods, guaranteed meal breaks and fairer pay.
We have some members in our crafts that are so underpaid that they can't possibly survive in the cities where they provide services. And so we're looking for a livable wage for them.
The union has been in talks for months with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which represents studios including Amazon, Disney and Netflix. The previous 3-year contract expired in July, but discussions came to a halt last month. If the strike goes ahead, it would be Hollywood's largest walkout since World War II, and industry experts say the effects could be worse than the writers' strike in 2007 and 2008.
There was a lot of ramping up of production before the strike to sort of get ready. And then a lot of reality TV was happening where they didn't need writers, This time around, I don't know if you can really make those kind of preparations. Like, they're already working as hard as they can work.
Production costs have already increased due to COVID-19, and studios say the union's demands would further harm profits. The AMPTP says it's committed to finding a deal in order to keep the industry running.
There you go. It could be a threat to any streaming services that you like to watch. Your content might be at risk there.
Certainly sounds like it might be. Thank you very much indeed for bringing us up to speed on all of that and the rest of the business news. Our business editor, Kate Moody. Thank you.